Hey, what's up guys, it's Dark Armed Wolf, and today doing a Chaos Synchro deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Gloomba. And this deck is an awesome deck that makes great use of all the Chaos support we've been getting recently. Especially cards like Chaos Angel, which is just a powerhouse of a boss monster. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name scratched in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Chaos Witch. This card is an awesome 3-of in the deck that generates a bunch of tokens that you can use to synchro summon, which is just really cool, because you can tribute this card to special nut 2 Dark Beast tokens to your side of the field, that are Fiend, Dark, level 2, 1000 attack, 500 defense. And if this card is banished from the hand or graveyard, you can special nut 2 Light Beast tokens that are Fairy Tuners, Light, level 2, with 500 attack and 1000 defense, which is the effect I usually like to use so I can synchro summon into some really powerful cards. It also has the ability you can only use one effect of this card per turn and only one stat turn, and you cannot special summon monsters from the X deck except Light or Dark Synchro monsters the turn you activate either of these effects, which some of your cards in this deck actually share that effect, which is not that big of a deal because that's all we're summoning from the X deck anyways. We then play 3 copies of Chaos Mirage Dragon. This card is an awesome normal summon in the deck because it has the ability you can target a banished Light or Dark monster and special summon it back to your field, but its effects are negated. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters from the X deck except Light or Dark Synchro monsters, which again is not that big of a deal. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can actually target cards your opponent controls up to the number of other monsters used for that synchro summon and banish them, which is a crazy powerful effect to use on this card. We then play 3 copies of Shell of Chaos. Shell of Chaos is really awesome as a 3-of in this deck because it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand, and if this face-up card would leave the field, banish it instead. And you can only use each effect of this card once per turn, that you can banish a light monster from your hand or graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect to just instantly get this card on your field. And it also works extremely well with cards like Chaos Space because it can actually search this card, which is a really good effect. This card just is super easy to use with our copies of Core of Chaos, because this card also has the ability that you can banish a light monster from your hand or grave to special summon this card from your hand. Also, you can't special summon monsters except Light or Dark Synchro monsters for the rest of the turn from the X deck. And it also has the ability, if this card is special summoned, you can target one of your banished Cores of Chaos and special summon it to your field, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of Core of Chaos. Core of Chaos is really awesome in this deck as a 3-of, and it's actually a tuner that we can special summon to our side of the field extremely easily, because it has the ability that it cannot be normal summoned or set. It has to be special summoned by an effect, and if this face-up card would leave the field, banish instead, and you can banish a dark monster from your hand or graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, which is a really cool effect. And it has the ability, if this card is special summoned, you can target one of your banished Shell of Chaos and special summon it. I really love the way that Core of Chaos and Shell of Chaos work so well together. We then play 2 copies of Mental Tuner. This card is great in the deck as a 2-of because we actually do play E-Telly in the deck, and this card is super easy to summon off of E-Telly to be able to just get you a really awesome tuner on your side of the field that can actually level modulate itself. We then play 2 copies of Chaos Valkyria. Chaos Valkyria is really good and super easy to summon to your side of the field because you can banish a light or dark monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is banished, you can actually send a light or dark monster from your deck to the graveyard, but for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate cards or effects with the same name as that card, which is not that big of a deal because you're basically just using this card to get certain bricks out of your deck that you can use later. We then play a single copy of Black Dragon Collapse Serpent and a single copy of White Dragon Wyvern Buster. These are really good as 1 each in the deck. They're currently at 1, but they're really awesome cards in the deck because you either banish a dark monster or a light monster to special summon them out to your side of the field, and when they leave the field, they search one another, which is just really, really cool. We then play a really spicy tech card in this deck, which I'm actually going to lay face down and get you guys to play Guess That Card with. This card is really cool as a tech card in the deck, and a really awesome chaos-ish monster that you can actually summon to your side of the field extremely easily that involves dark monsters. So we're actually going to reveal that card in 3, 2, 1, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely hit that bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad because we're on the road to 100K subscribers. So let's go ahead and see what this awesome tech card actually is. So this awesome tech card is actually none other than Dark Armed Dragon. This card is super easy to summon in this deck. It's searchable in the deck, which is really cool. It's very easy to put on your side of the field because you control the graveyard really easily with this deck by banishing your dark monster, so you have exactly 3 in the graveyard. And being able to pop multiple cards on the field is great just to help you OTK. I absolutely love this card in the deck, obviously, but it's still really cool in this deck to be able to summon this card out to the field. We then play a single copy of the Chaos Creator. The Chaos Creator is just really good at getting your cards back, so this card is a definite one-of in the build. One copy of Chaos Dragon Levinair. Chaos Dragon Levinair is really good as a one-of in this particular build because it's very easy to banish either 3 lights or 3 darks from your graveyard, or a combination of both, to be able to get its really awesome effects off. And it also helps you control the graveyard a little bit, so you can summon out Dark Armed Dragon. We then play 2 copies of Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn is really good as a 2-of in this particular deck because it helps you out a lot, because during your main phase you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, which is just really good to be able to send 2 cards from your deck to the grave, so you can start getting some really good cards in the grave, so you can banish them to summon out some powerhouse cards. And also during the end phase, you send an additional 2 cards from your deck to the graveyard, which is a really good effect. We then play 2 copies of Danger Mothman. Danger Mothman is just really good in this deck to be able to summon to your side of the field because it is a dark monster, and it's pretty much a free summon as well, which is really nice. We then play 2 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious. Destiny Hero Malicious is really good to be able to send to the graveyard off of Chaos Valkyria because you can use it in follow-up plays, and also it's a level 6 monster that you can use with any level 4 monster you want to summon out cards like Chaos Angel, or even use it to synchro summon in some really powerful cards. We then finally play a single copy of Plague Spreader Zombie. Plague Spreader is just really good in this deck to be able to use because once it's in the graveyard, it's very easy to put back on your side of the field and put a card back on top of your deck, like your copy of Destiny Hero Malicious, so you can actually use Destiny Hero Malicious if you have one in the graveyard. And this card is just great to help you synchro summon into some really awesome cards. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is really good in here as a 1-up to be able to send the exact card you need into the graveyard when you need it. We then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. We play plenty of targets in this deck to be able to send to the graveyard, so Allure of Darkness is a really good budget option to be able to use to draw cards out of the deck. We then play 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade. Charge of the Light Brigade is really good to be able to search out our copy of Hand of the Lightsworn, and also send 3 cards from the top of our deck to the graveyard, which can be really good to get cards in the graveyard, so we can actually banish those cards and put some really powerful cards on the field. We then play 3 copies of Chaos Space. Chaos Space is a great searcher for the deck because it's super easy to use. You send a light or dark monster from your hand to the graveyard to add a light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set from your deck to your hand, that's a level between 4 and 8, with a different attribute than the monster that you sent to the graveyard, which is a really good effect to be able to use to get the exact card you need off this card. It's also super helpful because it has the ability you can banish this card from the graveyard and target one of your banished light or dark monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set, and place that monster on the bottom of the deck and then draw a card, which can be super helpful to recycle some of your resources. We then play 3 copies of E-Telly. E-Telly is great in this deck as a 3-of to be able to summon out your copy of Mental Tuner to your side of the field, so you can get a really awesome tuner monster on the field to be able to go in for some really awesome synchro plays. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with our main boss monster, Chaos Angel. This card is absolutely busted. It takes a light or a dark monster to be able to summon out this card, and it has a crazy powerful effect that for this card synchro summon, you can treat a light or a dark monster that you control as a tuner monster, so you don't even have to really use a tuner monster to summon out this card. You can just treat a light or dark monster as a tuner, which is absolutely crazy. And if this card is special summon, you can target 1 card on the field and banish it. And this card gains the following effects depending on the attribute of monsters you actually use to summon out this card. If you use light, then synchro monsters that you control are unaffected by monster effects that are activated by your opponent. And if you use dark, then monsters that you control cannot be destroyed by battle. That is absolutely insane on a 3,500 attack point monster that's essentially a Link 2. This card is absolutely crazy and definitely a 1-of in this deck. You really don't need to, because once you put 1 on the field, you usually win. We then play a single copy of Red Supernova Dragon, which quick shout out to Gloomba, who actually showed me this crazy powerful card to be able to play in this deck. This card is absolutely insane and really easy to summon off of Chaos, which is generating level 2 tuner tokens, and it's really good in this deck deck because it just banishes everything your opponent has, and it puts a really big monster on the field that can be just really devastating to your opponent. This card is definitely a one of in the deck, and it's also super easy to put on the field. We then play a single copy of Psychic and Punisher. Psychic and Punisher can get absolutely massive. It's just a really cool card in the deck. It's very easy to play in this particular build, and it's just a really awesome card. We then play a single copy of the Bysteel Synchro Monster. This card is great to be able to work with Chaos cards because you can target a banished light or dark monster and special summon it back to your field, and that's an every turn effect, which is really cool. And also it can be a basically a negate, which is really, really good. We then play 2 copies of Chaos Archfiend. Chaos Archfiend gets absolutely massive when it's summoned to the field, and this card is a definite 2 of in the extra because it's a really awesome card to be able to put on the field to OTK the opponent, because if any cards have been banished this turn, this card gains 2,000 attack points and comes out at 4,500, and this card can attack all monsters that your opponent controls once each. Also, banish any monster destroyed by battle with this card, and if this card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon out a Chaos Synchro monster from your extract, except another copy of this card, instantly giving you a replacement to this card. This card is a card that you are going to summon so often in the deck, and it's such a powerful card that makes this deck work. We then play a single copy of Chaos Goddess. Sometimes you actually will summon this off of Chaos Archfiend. It's a little bit hard to summon, but it's super cool when you do get to summon this card because it's what started this entire deck's artwork, which is really cool. Because once per turn, you can send a light monster from your hand to the graveyard and then target a level 5 or higher dark monster in your graveyard and special summon that monster, which is a really cool effect to be able to use with a bunch of our synchro monsters. We then play a single copy of Draco Master or Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. This card is just absolutely massive. It can attack multiple times, and also when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish that monster, which is really neat. We then play a single copy of Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. This card is great at board wiping the field, and it also does burn damage, which is great. 1 copy of Omega. This card is insane in the deck because you can actually rip cards out of your opponent's hand, which is just really, really good. Play a single copy of F.A. Dawn Dragster. Dawn Dragster comes out every so often in the deck to give you a spell and trap negate. Play a single copy of Infernity Doom Archfiend, which is a really cool card to be able to play in this deck because it has the ability once per turn, you can target a face-up card on the field and negate its effects until the end of the turn. Then if you have no cards in your hand, you can destroy it, and then while you have no cards in your hand, if this card battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage inflicted to your opponent is doubled, which is really good. And a Dark Synchro monster that was summoned using this card as a material can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, which is a really good effect to help you step into other monsters using this card. We then play 2 copies of Chaos Beast. Chaos Beast is really good as a 2 of in the deck, and this card is basically a stepping stone to be able to step into other synchro monsters, and it's one of the first cards you're going to summon out of your extract, because if any cards have been banished this turn, this card gains 1,000 attack, pushing it all the way up to 3,000 attack points, which is really insane. And it also has the ability you can target one of your banished light or dark monsters and add it back to your hand, and then during your main phase, except turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you manage a light and a dark monster from your hand or grave, except this card, and then special summon this card back in the grave, which is really good to help you step back into this card to synchro climb even more. We then play a single copy of Immortal Dragon. Immortal Dragon is really good because it can actually level modulate itself, which is really good because during your main phase, you can send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes the difference of the original levels of that monster and this card, which you can send Plague Spreader Zombie to the graveyard off this card's effect and make this card essentially a level 4, which is really good to help you get a level 4 tuner on your side of the field so you can step into some really powerful monsters. This card is really good as a 1 of in the deck. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Chaos Synchro deck, now is definitely the time to pick it up with Chaos Angel finally being in the TCG. This card is absolutely broken, and it's just super fun to be able to summon this card to the field with cards like Chaos Archfiend and all those other really powerful Chaos cards. So anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.